Howdy, y'all.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
That is right. Jumping right into the July Basho days 4 through 10. We're going to talk about our favorite moments, what stood out to us, what we're liking, some of the big storylines of this Basho. I'm totally loving this Basho, and I know you are too.
I am. I was on vacation, though, last week, so I was watching it fast and furiously.
Okay.
But now that I'm back, I'm excited to,
slow down.
Yeah, because when you're in mixed company, it's hard to be like, excuse me while I go to the other room and watch sumo. And I did that a lot. But I kept up with the storylines, and I did watch my sumo. But I'm excited this next week. I can focus in the comfort of my own home.
Bingo? Do you want to talk about bingo? Just play.
Just play. I imagine there's a few cards left.
Yep.
Get your grandma to play. Get your friends to play. Get them in there and see if they're hooked.
Because you can start playing bango.
Oh, bango.
You can play bango with us starting on day 12. If we still don't have a bingo or a bango, you can still get a card.
You could play on day 14 if you want.
And
if there's a card
win.
left, because all you have to know is who has a kachikoshi or a makikoshi up to that point.
That's right.
If you haven't noticed, our beloved Rerun-fuji decided to make his debut at the tournament. I think on day 7 or 8. He did 2 days in a row. He won, I believe, both matches. His traps aren't these your traps, you're by your neck?
Yeah.
He looks like I've missed seeing him. All he's done in the 6 months since I've seen him is traps.
He was big traps before. What I noticed was his tan.
Yeah, he's very tan and has been working on his traps. So or at least to me, he looked very built. He looked like he was in good shape. He still has skinny legs.
He's still the shape of a Tasmanian devil.
He
really is.
He is, but he has a tan. Yeah, he looks good.
What I can't figure out is he has no tan lines. So is he tanning naked?
Well, maybe he's doing his traps outside in his mawashi.
Maybe he's training outside.
He might have a mawashi tan line. That's
he
something
might. I would not
none
have
of
any
us
idea.
really know.
That's right.
But he pulled himself back out because he hurt his ankle again, which makes me a little worried. And then something in his chest. So I was like, oh, kid, just stay out of it for long enough. All of you guys come back too soon and I can't take it.
You know what must be so difficult about coming back is coming back slowly enough to build back up your musculature after you take some time off.
Yeah.
Must be really tough when you're used to performing at a certain level.
Right.
Then you got to slow down. You got to build those muscles back up. It's got to be so hard.
I know. Speaking of, another tidbit of news is Enho, who we also haven't seen due to a severe spinal cord injury, is back, and he has secured his 4 wins to secure that Kachikoshi record.
Oh, good for him.
So he will be moving up after this. So there we go.
I just literally went through all of the emotions right there in 2 sentences. I was like, oh no, he's back. And then, oh great,
yay.
he's won. Okay.
Here's another fun, and this is my last bit of news, which I think is fun news. The air conditioning is out. In the
stadium?
No, in the back, in the dressing room. And they brought in a large fan. And Shodai said that he was glad he won that day because if not, it would have been kind of adding insult to injury. It's losing and then heading back there where it's so freaking hot. And then, this is the best quote of the day, Shodai said, "Air conditioners are really good. I hope they do their best for the remaining 5 days."
That's the best. I hope they do their own brand of air conditioning
for the next 5 days. I thought if that was a translation hilarity, then so be it. But God, that makes me really laugh if that was actually Shoda being I hope they bring their best for the next 5 days. And that is kind of all I've got for news.
Gambate with the air conditioning. I'm sorry, that is the best.
It is the hottest tournament down there. The audience is constantly fanning themselves. Mm-hmm. These guys are packing on 3 times the weight of any of the tiny people in the audiences.
They're packing on the weight? What do you mean?
The wrestlers are. They have the weight of 3 of those people in the audiences. So it's just more to cool down. Yeah. So it's got to be even hotter down below where all the other guys are there warming up and there's more bodies. I'm like, oh God, it's hot and steamy. This is the one tournament that I don't need to go to. unless it's
Oh.
air conditioned, like it could be next year in the new stadium. Day 4. This is the day I almost quit watching sumo forever. And that's mainly just because of Asanoyama. That hit me so hard. I didn't want to watch it. I unfortunately, on my vacation, was scrolling and I saw somebody be like, Asanoyama out with like major injury.
Did
and
you
I was
watch
like,
the fight?
I did. Thankfully, I watched it in the truncated version, so I did not have to watch the long version where they wheel him out in a wheelchair. It just... I just didn't want to watch it, but I had to. And it looked pretty straightforward. I mean, he actually just got beat simply by Ichi Yamamoto. But really what I saw was just, it could happen to any of them. He just fell awkwardly and got his foot kind of caught underneath him. So when he went down, he went hard on his, like bending his knee severely. And those guys are so flexible. But the weight of your body coming down on you, that's what happens to so many of them. It looked tough. And Asanoyama, at least in the tiny bit that I saw him being wheeled off, he seemed somewhat emotionless. But I think what hits me harder is not the injury. It's that, like, he's had this trajectory in his career. And he was like an ozeki. He never got to be the ozeki because he got suspended due to like being out one night or a couple of nights or lying about it. They severely punished him. He's worked so hard to get his way back up and he has done it. He's looking good. And this happens, you know? It's just like this heartbreaking part of the sport that I really hate. And I wish he never made that bad decision or had that strict of a punishment 2 years ago that kind of did this to him. But gosh, for a guy who's a good guy, it's just a crappy run.
It is terrible luck. What it did for me was make me sign up for knee strength building classes.
Yeah.
I've been taking them religiously since I watched Asanoyama pop his ACL. It was awful. It was awful. And it just made me realize, we all need to work on the strength of our knees and our ankles and our feet. So
yeah, and every
that's
one
what
of
I've been
them,
doing
every
since
one
then.
of them is, you know, people we love. This happens to Wakataka Kage, Takeru-fuji. It's knees
so
and
common.
ankle and ankle. It's just so common, and I hate it. I just hate it.
Yep.
But let's move on, shall we? Ura versus Atami Fuji. Okay, well, Ura ducks under without a proper tachi-ai up top, grabs a close inside hold on Atami Fuji. Ura waited a second and then did a super strong pull on the front of the belt of Atami Fuji and yanked down. Atami Fuji should never forget that Ura on the inside, if you allow him to do that, you are in trouble. It was a beautiful Shitata Dashinage, but he looked like... He confidently was like, I can take Ura, but that's why Ura is Ura. He just is magic at the edge, magic in a pinch.
Yeah.
And he's so clever and quick. And he's so dope. He's so low down.
I thought you were going to say he's so dope.
He's so dope. He is. That's all I need to say. Ura is so dope. That's all I can say about that match. Hiradoumi, also dope. He is great. I mean... I do think...
We'll just leave it there. He's great.
Dope. I will say about this match, I think that many things are happening to the new adorable prince of sumo, who is Onosato. And I adore Onosato, but he's being taken down quite easily by the older guys now. It was just another quick super hit shift to the left and the left hand that sent Onosato reeling. And Hiradoumi swatted to the back of Onosato, like after he barely tachi-ai'd, and then Onosato fell face first into the dirt. It just happened so incredibly fast, which made me love Hiradoumi because that is what his magic is. He's so fast and he's so furious. But also, our sweet little prince of sumo the reality is all coming to be in front of his very eyes. Like all the guys are learning real fast.
Expectations are tough to live up to.
Yeah.
They really are. And Onosato had them all behind. Everybody expected great things from him. And it's not that he's letting them down, but
It's just experience.
I have been enjoying watching him struggle a little bit more in this Basho.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird that I could say that?
No,
but I'm like,
because
how
it
could one
happens-
person be so good from the beginning?
It happened to Atami Fuji right before. Like, it happens to all of them. They're hot. They're on the rise. They haven't been fought by a lot of these guys. They don't know what they're all about. Once they learn their bodies, then the challenges really start. And that's clear with Atami Fuji this time around. It's clear with Onosato. All the other guys learn. Oh, Tobizaru versus Takakeisho. It was kind of like another injury, I felt, and then a win for Tobizaru. It was a huge front head Tachi-ai bonk. Tobizaru got his right arm sort of lodged down and under and onto Takakeisho's belt with a grip, and he tried to throw Takakeisho, I think. He also tried to take his arms up and out, but Takakeisho was pushing back on Tobizaru with his heavy body. And I think in that he may have torn something there. I don't know. It just looked at that moment. I was like, something might be wrong here with Takakeisho even more. I mean, he's already struggling, but like, I was like, oh no, another injury. After
he
that,
was holding his shoulder,
yeah,
at the end of it, and sort of moving his neck around awkwardly. And I think when you start the day with the pop of an ACL, you just see injuries everywhere.
maybe,
Yeah.
but he came back other days and he seemed fine. So maybe he was just like, we see it all, and yeah, it's much bigger than it really is. But I was kind of worried. Basically, in a nutshell, after that, Tobizaru stepped to the side of Takakeisho, grabbed the back of his belt, and pushed him to the ground. It was pretty straightforward. But surprising ending, because we're all cheering for Takakeisho. Hoshoryu versus Gonoyama. Gonoyama had a huge tachi-ai and rushed on Hoshoryu, who didn't do much to fight off Gonoyama. So that was like, what? That happened rather quickly. And that very same move from Terunofuji happened to Mitakiyumi. It was a tachi-ai. Terunofuji got inside and bulldozed as he lifted up on Mitakiyumi and pushed him back into the edge. That's kind of all I really have to say about that day.
Day 4?
Day 4.
I would like to say that I've never cheered so hard when somebody beat Oshoma. And it was Midori Fuji on day 4.
Yes.
I just loved it.
Well, we enjoy seeing Oshoma beat.
I do. I hate saying that, but I do.
Yeah.
Okay, day 5. Some matches I'm going to break down, and others I'm just going to give you the real quick down and dirty. On day 5, Wakataka Kage had absolutely no trouble dealing with Mr. Churros, or Churen no Umi, who is looking quite fast and stable, and he is just the underdog that I overlook all of the time.
I know, me
and
too.
I shouldn't, because he's doing well. He's doing really well. However, he's going up against Wakataka Kage on day 5, and you could see the skill and the experience paying off for Wakataka Kage, and I'm just delighting in the fact that he's doing so well, because I am a huge fan of Wakataka Kage.
Yeah.
There was an odd fight. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
Is this the drama bout?
Yeah.
Kimbo Oho?
Yes. Oho and Kimbo-zan. At the end of the bout, they both looked really angry at each other. Like their skin was all red and they had like anger faces going. You could see how close to the surface anger sometimes is for these guys.
Somebody stole somebody's girlfriend, is what I thought.
I really don't know. They were just slinging slaps at each other.
They'd been waiting to battle it out, it seemed.
Who knows what that beef
happened
was?
in the beginning that turned one of them on and was like, oh no, don't do that. And yeah, they were ignited, both of them.
Yeah. It is a fine line between just emotionless sumo, where you can be like, oh, it's such a nice sport, to anger fighting. Yeah. And it's way more uncomfortable when it's anger fighting. I will say this time, Oho came out on the top. However, it's really hard to cheer for somebody who's pissed and they win when they're pissed.
Well, Kinbo was also pissed at the end.
There was
this dramatic look that was definitely Sweet Totori High worthy.
Yes.
It was definitely drama.
But it leaves me in the middle going, do I cheer for that? I don't even know. So it was uncomfortable feeling, but I mentioned it just because it was different. somebody went bowling with Sata Naomi on day 5. It was a big Uwatanage, completely flipped him over and right into a Gyoji. And I just always note whenever anyone goes bowling with anyone else, especially when it takes out a judge.
I was Shonan Naomi.
Was it?
He has the best belly in the biz. He has a perfect sumo belly.
Okay, yeah. I do want to mention Abi versus Atami Fuji, because this was a win by Okori Nage, which is not a move that I see very often. Abi pulled, got behind Atami Fuji, grabbed his belt, and threw him down from behind. And that does not sound very sexy, but just imagine someone sneaking up to you from behind, grabbing your jeans, and pulling you straight down towards the ground.
That's definitely could bruise a coccyx.
A coccyx. Well done. There's a term I don't tend to use on the Sumo podcast. But Atami Fuji's coccyx was probably just fine. So I think he's okay. But Abi I just was amazed that Abi got behind Atami Fuji so fast, and I enjoyed the pull down.
Yeah, it was unusual. The way that one played out was unusual.
Sometimes when they show a slow-mo of, the win, sometimes I do put myself in the loser's shoes, and I'm like, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, well, and we probably have all been there at some point in our lives.
I'm sure you have pulled me down by the back of my jeans at least once.
I know. I'm like 4 years behind you. So it was the other way. But I'm sure it happened at recess.
Okay, Onosato's size seemed to completely overpower Kirishima on day 5. He blocked Kirishima's arms and moved forward like it was no problem at all. And this normally wouldn't bother me, except that Kirishima needs 10 wins to get his Ozeki status back.
I know.
So it was kind of an unfortunate loss on day 5, but I didn't spend too much time there because we had Kotozakura next, meeting Mitakeumi. Both went in together, gave each other a nice hug. That's what I like to call it.
It was a
sometime.
soft touchy. Yeah.
Chest first. We'll just meet each other chest first. A whole bunch of stuff happened. They both flew out of the ring together. I'm just skipping right over.
Yeah, I remember. A whole bunch of stuff happened. Day 4, a whole bunch of stuff happened.
Yeah, this is a long time ago. They both flew out of the ring together. Here's what I remember. When they went out of the ring together, the win was given to Mitakeumi, and I was like, what? Wait, what? What just happened? What just happened? I need the slow-mo. And in the slow-mo, you could see as these guys were flying out, Kotozakura's elbow touched the ground just like a half a second before Mitakeumi hit the ground. It was so close.
It's so last minute.
Yeah. Somehow Mitakeumi was able to lean a little bit into Kotozakura as he fell. So he went laterally as they both fell out, and it made all of the difference. And sometimes sumo is such an extraordinary sport because it goes so fast you can't even see what's happening. And you need that slow-mo to see just how excellent they are at body position.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an incredible win by Mitakeumi over Kotozakura on day 5.
Big win.
Yep. It was a big win. And then we had another case of 2 wrestlers flying out at the same time. This time it was Ura and Takakeisho. At this point, y'all, I would buy tickets to watch Ura do sumo with himself.
Yeah.
Because he's so damn entertaining.
Yeah.
He could do anything.
I'm Team Ura all the way.
Yes. This time, they both went flying out together at the same time. Again, I had no idea who had won. There was no mono-e. There was no discussion from the judges at all. Takakeisho won this thing because I had to watch it again to see Ura's foot was actually obviously outside the ring as they went out at the same time.
Right.
So it's because Ura stepped out. But I was like, okay, Takakeisho, he got that win.
Yeah.
That was a tough opponent.
He
needs all the wins he can as well, which is why I say it. All right. The other one I want to mention, day 5, just because I love it. Terunofuji versus Gonoyama. 2 huge Teru can do anything. Gonoyama, big pusher thruster. They just both have a lot of skills. I'm just going to put it that way.
Well, okay? Gonoyama has such a dynamic tachi-ai. I mean, that's usually his main strength, is he comes out so hard and so fast.
Does.
Yeah. So these 2 together is electric.
Well, Terunofuji may not be able to squat, but he can still grab a belt. He can still slowly walk forward. And he beat Gonoyama decisively
He
on day
swallowed him up.
5.
Just
Yep.
purely swallowed him up.
And this was the day that Terunofuji started to pull ahead. At this point on day 5, he was the only undefeated Rikishi, which is pretty incredible.
Day 6. Wakataka Kage. I enjoy saying that. Versus Kakayaki. I absolutely hated this loss. Wakataka Kage in this bout is just a little rusty, I think, still. It wasn't anything he did. It was more that the inability to recover struck me as unusual when Kagayaki Oshidashi'd him. And it could have just been a streak of luck with Kagayaki, but I don't think of him as that formidable of an opponent for someone like Wakataka Kage, but it could be size related. I was just like, it was just weird.
He was the only man to beat him when he got the Juryo Championship last Basho.
So maybe it was like
his only loss was to Kagayaki. And
which
so
I don't understand how anyone
really think because Kagayaki is the tallest man. Mm-hmm. He's the biggest, tallest guy. And so I do think it's size related.
It might be.
Yeah.
It gets into Kagayaki can just get into your head.
What do I know?
What do you know?
I obviously don't know.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess.
I think because he tends to have both of those brothers, all those guys, just because of their size, seem to have a harder time with the bigger opponents.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. I would have a hard time with Kagayaki.
Unless he sang to me, and then I'd be
fine.
Then
we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Hokuto Fuji versus Nishiki Fuji. This was really, really fun sumo to watch on day 6, right? Hokuto Fuji up top stayed pretty strong and aggressive in the same way that Nishiki Fuji seemed to also be strong and aggressive. They both were moving quickly, as they usually do. Hokuto Fuji was mostly the aggressor, and Nishiki Fuji was mostly like moving backwards into the edge, but stayed really resistant at the edge. Nishiki Fuji then pivoted inwards into the center of the dohyo and rushed back on Hokuto Fuji, but he couldn't finish him off. We see this happen all the time. Sometimes these guys just grip the bales and make it impossible to push them over. So Hokuto Fuji, instead, with Herculean strength, stopped all of that Nishiki Fuji energy and strong arm Nishiki Fuji. I keep wanting to say Nishikigi, but Nishiki Fuji back. It was a real push and pull between these two guys. Hokuto Fuji then got a solid upper arm vice grip and tried to like move him downwards to the dirt with that Kotenage hold. And that is really what ended up flattening Nishiki Fuji down into the dirt. So it was well played, but it was fun.
Nice.
Chiyoshoma is back in the biz, so bingo is on. If you've got Chiyoshoma on your card, now
he's in play now.
He's in play,
yeah.
So keep that in mind. Let me jump to Kotozakura versus Gonoyama. This was brilliant handling by Kotozakura. Kotozakura did his magic at the edge. Kotozakura does not go backwards easily, and when he does, he intentionally moves back to the edge and then pivots and twists his upper back and throws Gonoyama over and behind him and out.
It was great defense.
He looked like the pro that he is.
Yeah. It's that dedication. I tell you, that kid is going to take over one day. He is going to get that rope someday.
He will.
Yep.
Wakamoto Haru versus Takakeisho. Oh, I love this sloppy battle. Takakeisho came out strong, but quickly ran out of gas. There were multiple moments to finish off Wakamoto Haru with a huge blast at the edge, but Wakamoto Haru resisted, and Takakeisho thought Wakamoto Haru was out or about to go out after he pulled a pretty strong Hataki Komi attempt on Wakamoto Haru. Wakamoto Haru turned around and just got right back in Takakeisho's face, and close enough to kind of blunt Takakeisho's pushes. Wakamoto Haru hopped sideways, got a hold of the back of Takakeisho's belt, and then flung him out. And the first 2 rows of old people also got pummeled by Takakeisho.
And they loved every moment.
They loved every moment of it.
2 things stood out. I agree. I think Takakeisho thought he'd won mid-bout, so he kind of stopped.
And Wakamoto Haru just kept coming at him.
Yeah, but it made me think, wow, this sumo is taking 110% from him. Like, look at how hard he is fighting. Because if you give up like that because you think you've won, then you're tired. Or
Exactly.
something's
Something's
not. Yeah.
off.
So,
Yeah.
man, he is working at his hardest for these wins. And the other thing that stood out for me is every time Takakeisho landed a push, man, Wakamoto Haru just went flying across the ring.
Yeah.
The power behind his punches is just incredible. I do not know many men that have that kind of power behind their punch. But that also might be the very reason that he's injured right now. It's just incredible that he's working through that, Takakeisho. It's as much as I love Wakamoto Haru and I love the fact that he won this, I just have to marvel at the bowling ball.
That is Takakeisho, the battle hamster, if you will. Takakeisho, I should say, is 2 wins, 4 losses at day 6, which does not bode well for him. Kirishima is at 3-3. So we've got 2 guys that have got to get bigger numbers. Kirishima's got to get a ton of numbers. And Takakeisho's got to get
a ton of numbers. He's got to get 8. Kirishima's got to get 10.
Yeah.
So 6, 7, 8. That's about when you start watching numbers. And day 6 was the day that Terunofuji pulled out ahead by 2 of everybody else. 2 ahead already at day 6. And that's pretty incredible. It doesn't mean that he's going to win this thing.
No.
Because we've seen lots of people with that kind of lead early on lose it. Yeah. There's really only one fight I want to describe to you on day 7. Best fight of the entire tournament, in my opinion, thus far. But before we get to it, let me just give you a few notes about what else happened on day 7. Wakataka Kage had no problem winning against Nishiki Fuji.
Mm-hmm.
Chura no Umi, the fight was athletic all over the place against Midori Fuji.
Oh, it was so sloppy and fun.
It was fun. Chura no Umi came out with a win again on day 7.
I'm like, what?
Continuing to just cheer for this, guys. Just going everywhere. Shodai.
Looking strong.
Fabulous on day 7. Followed Sada no Umi all over the ring and eventually sent Sada no Umi out. He was at 5-2 on day 7. Looking great. Big D, Daisho, did such a great job pushing and jumping to the side when it counted against Meisei. Onosato completely outmuscled Atami Fuji. But I look forward to many, many matches between these 2 big guys in the future. Onosato had great positioning and he used it to his advantage. Hirada Umi, against Takakeisho on day 7.
Causing all kinds of heck.
Hirada Umi outpushed, outpowered, was faster, more aggressive than Takakeisho the entire time.
Yeah.
Won this match. That took Takakeisho to 2-4. Another loss. That kind of made me sit up straight.
2 and 5.
This was 2 and 5. Yes, you're right, because he started at 2 and 4. So it was 2 and 5. So, I'm watching Takakeisho's numbers, watching Hirada Umi's numbers. That meant he was at 4-3. Okay, all of this is happening on day 7. It's just great sumo. Kirishima, who was at 3-3, met Hoshoryu, which you just know is going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. It was great. Kirishima did such a good job watching Hoshoryu's every single move, and he performed a beautiful pull down, sort of an immediate Hikiotoshi on Hoshoryu, who didn't like it at all, but that was great because it took him to 4-3, and he needs those wins. Koto Zakura moved forward like a slow-moving iceberg, never stopped against Tobizaru. Tobizaru had no choice but to go out.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that paled in comparison to the final match of the day. Yeah. Terunofuji versus Ura, the most entertaining match of the entire day.
This is worth price of admission.
It really was. Ura tried so many different things, and Terunofuji reacted so well to every single one of them. Ura leapt in right at the Tachiai. He grabbed Terunofuji's arms. Terunofuji did not lose his cool. He just reached over Ura, grabbed for Ura's belt in the back. Ura spun. He spun backwards. He was like, okay, no, I'm not going to let you get my belt. Taking Terunofuji with him in the spin. Terunofuji lunged forward to try to sort of get a better grip and move this guy out.
He like swatted at him like an abominable snowman.
Yes. Ura jumped away, sort of jumped back away and put some distance in between them, and then jumped back in quickly, pushing as hard as he could on Terunofuji's chest. And then Ura got one hand underneath Terunofuji's arm. He tried a Karasukashi, but Terunofuji stayed on his feet, followed. Then Ura tried to get to Terunofuji's side and push. Terunofuji was like, I'm not going anywhere. I shall be immovable. Then Ura went double inside. Terunofuji was like, fine, great, I like this. I'm going to clamp down on both of your arms. We'll just stand here for a second. Okay, maybe I'll reach over your shoulder. I'll grab your belt again from the back. Ura leapt forward. He tried a dashinage, tried to spin and get to Terunofuji's side. Again, Terunofuji followed. I had to write all this out because it was so incredible. Terunofuji finally caught Ura with a solid belt grip. He pinned one of Ura's arms straight up high at a point where Ura couldn't really use it and just pulled Ura in tight.
It looked like it was out of socket. That shows you how flexible Ura is.
And then all Terunofuji had to do was slowly walk Ura backwards and out. Ura looked exhausted. Terunofuji looked so strong and so stable and patient.
He's a dad. I think that was like a dad move at the end. I
don't know.
Like, I am going to put their arm over their head. They cannot go anywhere, and I will put them in the bathtub. There was something about, like, I will catch this kid somehow.
I was so impressed. I was so impressed by Terunofuji's ability to stay with Ura.
I was so impressed
all
with
that lateral
Ura's
movement.
Just epically huge heart. His fighting spirit is unlike anyone else's. He loves going to work every day. Whatever that kid has for breakfast, I want to have it because it just comes out. I just have never seen a spirit that big. And I know that's why everyone loves Ura so much. But when he lost this, like, he had to feel, and Terunofuji had to know, this kid gave it everything he had. I have to admire that. And Ura knows, like, I gave everything I had to fighting. Like, it's honorable to put up your best fight with the best wrestler. Yeah. And he takes it seriously. And God, it was so much fun. It was just brilliant.
It was really fun. I also heard the announcer say when Ura's arm was way up high, he called that position a half bonsai position. And I looked it up. I couldn't find anything online about a half bonsai position. So if anybody else out there knows a little bit about this position or can find a little bit more on that, I would love to learn more.
I mean, it looked clear. It looked like one arm was like up and over his head onto the other side, paralyzing like one whole side.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was...
What's the genesis of that term, maybe?
Well, the genesis of the term, but I also, just because an announcer says something, I'm not exactly sure what they're seeing. Maybe we're seeing different things. So I want to know what the definition of a half bonsai position is. Is it when that arm was high, or was something else happening with the other arm that I don't understand? And was that the half bonsai position? Anyway, if anyone out there has some info on the half bonsai position, I would love to know, and I will absolutely pass it along to our listeners. So that means we went into day 8, Terunofuji still 2 ahead of everybody else.
Day 8. I'm continuing to be surprised by Chura no Umi's wins. He beat Nishiki Fuji.
We gotta stop being surprised at this guy, right?
I guess. But good on Churros. Oh, a fun match was Shodai versus Wakataka Kage. I guess I just love this fight because Shodai had fight. He was on defense as usual, and Wakataka Kage was all offense. But it was done actually with a simple swat and a slip to the side. Also, another thing about this match, Shodai did a full 360 turn.
Yep.
And he stayed sideways to Wakataka Kage coming at him. And he won with a thrust down. So he just proves he's like a cat with 9 lives sometimes when he's in that zone. And he's now 6-2. Shodai, for the first time in like 14 years, is like not in the front. He hasn't been wrestling. He's not been in contention for the U show for that long. But for the first time in a long time, like, he's not that far off of the winner. Like
Yeah.
He's 2 wins behind the winner.
You know what else I thought about? These two, he was Ozeki and Wakataka Kage was Sekiwake pretty much around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they have experience with each other. Let's say you're doing your sumo and you rise with a certain cadre of other wrestlers and you all sort of come up together and you get to know each other. But then this new set of guys come in with a whole new set of training techniques. And you've got to keep learning how these new kids do sumo.
Yeah.
So it must be great to meet someone you've had lots of experience with again. To be like, oh, I know how you do this.
Yeah.
I know how to fight you. But I don't know how to fight Shura Naomi yet. Because he's newer.
He's too new.
Yeah.
One really fun match from this day was Ryuden versus Midori Fuji. It was incredible staying power by Midori Fuji, but it did remind me, Ryuden up top looked like me trying to put a wet swimsuit on for like a solid 3 minutes. It was like...
Wait, what?
You know that feeling when you put like a wet swimsuit on like a...
And it doesn't...
On a wet body?
You can't pull it up?
You can't pull it up. It's like sweaty. You know, it's like you being sweaty and trying to put on leather pants or something. It's just like an epic struggle.
Oh, that happens to me every day. I'm sweating and I try to put on leather pants.
Well, that was an extreme example. My day-to-day is me actually putting on a wet bathing suit. That was very real. But Ryuden struggled so hard with Midori Fuji to lift him up like... And Midori Fuji was so strong, and I was just like, I have been there before, Ryuden. I have so been there before. Midori Fuji dug his head and did not, like, into the chest of Ryuden, denied Ryuden a chance to pull upwards and get a grip. It was an underarm pulling down maneuver, and he yanked his left arm on Ryuden's front belt and then just yanked like hell till Ryuden fell. It was an underarm throw. But the thing that was memorable to me is just how much of a pain in the ass Midori Fuji was for Ryuden up top.
And I loved it.
And I identified with his struggle. Wakamoto Haru versus Atami Fuji. This was really nice sumo from Atami Fuji, keeping Wakamoto Haru from going anywhere but square in front of him. Frontal push out win for Atami Fuji. Wakamoto Haru tried to set up for a throw at the edge, but Atami Fuji just laid into him instead and pushed Wakamoto Haru out from the front. It was easy peasy. Yori Kitty win for Atami Fuji. We saw a little bit of pizzazz back with Onosato because him up against Tobizaru, and they tachi-eyed, and there was kind of like a leg trip attempt that Onosato was really quick to realize up top. Onosato just followed Tobizaru and pretty much swatted at him, followed him, chased him out. So I thought that was really good, quick reacting in the moment. Takakeisho beat Kirishima. Now, this was a match that everybody cares about because both guys desperately need wins. It was just too much power from Takakeisho that left Kirishima scrambling and running out. And then Terunofuji easily defeated Shonan no Umi. I mean, easy peasy. So Terunofuji at this point is 8-0. Perfect record. Our first Kachikoshi, looking like prime position to hopefully win this whole thing, but we got a few more days to go, so you never know. Day 9.
Shura no Umi met Chiyoshoma on day 9, and I like this programming. I like everything about this. Chiyoshoma, at this point, had been back for 3 days, and I think he'd won.
He's looking pretty good considering he just had back surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were saying he had like double, I want to say lamination, but double. Well, he just had,
he had
a more extensive back surgery. I can't remember the name of it right now, but he just taped up the top of his butt, and he just went out there, and he's still doing incredible sumo. I don't know how he's doing it, but he is. And they put him up with Shura no Umi, who is really on fire. Shura no Umi fought against. I mean, Chiyoshoma's sumo is all over the place.
Yeah.
He moves very quickly, and he's hard to predict.
Yeah.
And I just thought, Shura no Umi did such a great job defending himself at every single throw attempt that was happening around him. Chiyoshoma was fast, and Shura no Umi stayed tight with him at every stage and reacted well from beginning to end.
There was some firepower from Shura no Umi.
Yeah. I just thought, okay, Shura no Umi, he's proving to me over and over again that he's got really good belt skills.
Where is he out of? What is his stable? I gotta look that up. I forgot what his stable was.
We'll have to look it up again. But
I don't know who he's practicing with, but he's looking great.
Do you want to look that up now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That win took Chura no Umi to 7-2. You know, there's a whole pack of men that are sort of trailing Terunofuji in Terunofuji's lead, and that kept Chura no Umi right there in that pack. And I keep thinking he's going to fall out. He's going to fall out at some point, right?
Oh, Kisei.
Kisei stable.
That makes sense.
Well, there's a lot of great guys at Kisei stable.
Yeah. Ura. Oh, yeah.
Hida no Umi. Ura.
Kisei stable.
Well, if he's training with Ura, then no wonder he's used to trickeration.
Yeah. Ura, Kinbozan, Chura no Umi.
Oh, Kimbozan is there as well.
Shima no Umi.
Shima no Umi.
Shiden and Hida no Umi. That's right, because I always watch them. I watch their show. I forget, but I don't see Chura no Umi very often. Maybe he lives
elsewhere.
Yeah, you don't see him as much, but
just think about that practice. You get to practice with Ura, who's all over the place. Kimbozan, big pusher, thrust. I mean,
and then these guys that like Shima no Umi, Hida no Umi also spent time up in the upper division, as well as Shiden, who's on his way up. So he's Juryo 7. So yeah, day at work is going to be challenging.
Yeah. On day 9, Nishikigi got his first win of the Basho.
God bless.
Yeah. He was the first Makekoshi on day 8 with 8 losses in a row, but he finally got his first win on day 9 against Busho-san, and I'm sure he just felt nothing but relief. Wakataka Kage won by pull the guy around, get him a little bit off balance, push in from the side with an Oshidashi, this time against Kimbo-san. Shodai versus Oho. Oho rammed himself right into Shodai. He had the right position. He had all the power from the Tachi-ai. Shodai just went out of the ring, just didn't have an answer for it. He landed on a very friendly-looking gentleman wearing pink in the front row.
Oh, he's a 92-year-old famous actor.
Is he?
Yes, that's why that interaction was so courteous, is that he's a very well-known actor, but he's 92.
Okay, I did think Shodai spent an awful long time there trying to make sure he was okay.
Yeah, well, that's because, they all know he's a big time guy.
Got it. Well, I was impressed by Oho's dominance, won at the Tachi-ai, and I want to see more of that, please. If that's what you have in your tool belt, use it. Goroyama met Onosato. Goroyama pumped himself up to perfection, leapt in and pummeled Onosato with his pushes. Onosato could only go back and out. And it was gorgeous.
It was nice.
I just wrote on my notes here, Yas.
Yas, Bosh. Yas.
Kirishima met Meisei. Kirishima stayed low, grabbed Meisei's belt, drove him back. That gave him a 5th win. Only his 5th on day 9. He has a tough road ahead of him if he's going to make that 10 to get the Ozeki status back. But
I think I was resigned that day. I was like, all right, well, it happened to Shodai, it happened to Mitake Yumi. Like, it's some of these guys just can't stay up there for very long. It's hard.
It is hard. Koto Zakura pulled a beautiful Uwati Dashanage. It was just a beautiful throw. Let's just leave it at that. It was just a beautiful throw. He grabbed Hiradoumi's belt and just threw him gorgeously. It's just, one of those times when you just marvel. How did these guys train to throw each other like that? It took him to 7-2. That's why I'm mentioning it. That means Chura no Umi was at 7-2. Koto Zakura and his perfect throws.
Perfect hair. He has a really good head.
He's just perfection. He's just a very picture of perfection right now.
Yeah.
Took him to 7-2. And Hiradoumi has beat some incredible people this Basho, so it wasn't an easy thing to do. Takakeisho also won on day 9. Yay. This time against Mitake Yumi. It just looked like Butsuskari practice.
Yeah.
Takakeisho ran in head first and drove Mitake Yumi all the way back and out. It was like one move, easy. Done. Yeah. And I don't know how he's doing it with the injury, but he is. And so, wow. Terunofuji met Big D Daisho. This was a really interesting match. Terunofuji was so patient and watchful here. It was as if, like, I expected him to go in for Daisho and really try to grab him, but it looked as if he didn't want to overcommit himself. Like, he knew it's dangerous. This guy can slap me down. He's done it before.
Right.
And so I'm going to stay right here over my feet. I know that I could absorb his pushes. And so I'm going to rely on my own 2 feet. And so that's what he did. He let Daisho keep pushing and keep pushing. He even let, at one point, Daisho did a 360 turn and reset himself. He let Daisho do that and just kind of waited until big old Daisho lost his own footing and fell. Perhaps Terunofuji could feel that the doyo was slippery underneath them, and he just knew. I mean, who knows why these guys make the decisions that they do?
You know?
Yeah.
To keep themselves safe. They give up closer to the edge, or they've seen enough people wipe out and slip that they're like, okay, it's like ice out there. So
I've heard Terunofuji say, one of his superpowers is that he can absorb those pushes.
Yeah.
Like, he has the ability to withstand them, and it's more dangerous for him to go for someone sometimes because they slap him down.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just one of those times where I was like, okay, he's just being immovable. He's not going to go anywhere, and he's waiting for that guy to make a mistake. And that's exactly what happened. So Terunofuji 9-0 on day 9, still 2 ahead of the pack, looking strong, looking so good.
Yes.
Just ever the Yokozuna that he is.
Agree. Day 10. Endo surprised me because we haven't hardly talked about Endo. He's been struggling. It was a really long bout with tons of patience, but in the end it was Endo who beat hot to handle Chiranoumi.
On day 9, I forgot to mention this. When I said that I liked what Oho did, Oho beat Shodai. And what that meant was it took Shodai out of, he was in the running at second place.
Right.
With 3 men.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so that knocked Shodai out of that on day 9. And this match that you're talking about now then gave Chiranoumi the loss. So he was no longer in that pack at second place.
Correct.
As well.
Correct.
On day 10.
One of my favorite bouts was Wakataka Kage versus Midori Fuji. I just loved how fast and furious it was. Wakataka Kage got under and into the pits of Midori Fuji and got Midori Fuji turned around, and it was an Oshidashi really win, but I was impressed, and Wakataka Kage was looking good at 7-3.
Can you tell we like Wakataka Kage?
I really love saying his name, but more than anything, he's one away from Kachikoshi, and that's all I want for this guy is he's still healing and finding his sea legs again. I want him to get, the bump up in the ranks. I just want him to look good, and I want him to stay healthy, do his brand of sumo, and keep it exciting. We had a number of slips. Takarafuji beat Tamawashi. It was just like a kind of a slippery doyo win for Takarafuji. Same thing that happened for Shodai versus Kinbozan. It was a slippery win by Shodai. I don't know. It just seems like it's hot there. I don't know what heat and moisture does to clay, but can't be good. Takanosho versus Gonoyama. Takanosho absorbed a very big tachiai from Gonoyama, but still, it was like big sumo from both of these guys. Takanosho stayed close and charged and rushed Gonoyama back and out. And I say this because Takanosho is sitting at Maegashira 6. We haven't talked about him much. He's had kind of I feel like a run of like not great scores. And so I'm like, hey, he's one away from Kachikoshi. I hope he keeps that going.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Wakamoto Haru versus Hiradoumi was so fun because this was a huge tachiai. Hiradoumi rushes, lifts up on Wakamoto Haru, and then backs up and lays him out. By yanking Hiradoumi, just yanked Wakamoto Haru into the dirt. So that was kind of fun.
Yankee Dashi?
Yankee Dashi.
Or Uwatanage. Yankidage, that sounds not good.
Pretty weird. A Yankee doggy. Well, sekiwake. I say that because it's hard to remind myself that Abi is a sekiwake. He beat Takakeisho. And it looked like Takakeisho rushed Abi back and out, like, typical bulldozer thing. But Takakeisho laid himself out trying to finish off Abi. But Takakeisho went down first, and his hand very splits, like just a hair difference, hit the dirt before Abi hit the dirt. This is clearly very frustrating for Takakeisho because he thought he won. The Gyoji said you won. There was a mono-e. They looked at the slow-mo and they called it for Abi. And I think if I was an Ozeki who needed numbers, I would be very frustrated that they didn't at least say, okay, let's do a tori neoshi. So that's what confuses me is when they're like, no, we call this a win versus other times when it's close. And they're like, do over. Takakeisho was the aggressor. He had moved Abi back and out. He was just finishing him off and laid himself out at the same time. I would at least think.
You did not like this call.
I did not. But I saw it. His hand hit first. I did see it. But I just was like, it's so arbitrary. Like sometimes they're like, no, too close to call. Like, we'll do it again. Anyway, I give up. I'm not watching sumo ever again. Hoshoryu. No, that's not true. Hoshoryu did a hilarious leg trip, Sotogake, on Shonan no Umi. He just brought good old Shonan close inwards, put his leg out, and then Shonan no Umi just pretty much sat down on his ding, 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 keyword, bohonkus. It was really, it's always delightful to see a big old guy fall on his booty. Kotozakura versus Onosato. It was a sloppy start, no tachiai kind of between the guys. It was very strange. Kotozakura got a belt, like a deep belt left side grip on Onosato and turned a beautiful uwatanage throw on Onosato. It was really great sumo from the Ozeki and I enjoyed it. Kirishima learned he doesn't have what it takes to beat the big dog, which is Terunofuji. It was a death by vice grip or kimidashi grip on Kirishima. Basically, Terunofuji lifted up back and sent Kirishima to the dirt. He did have one arm kotonage around Kirishima's arm, and that's really what sent him into the dirt. But it was that vice grip that looks impossible to escape from.
Yes.
That nobody can escape from, and that was Kirishima, who's now sitting at 5-5. Literally impossible, I think, to get to 10 wins at this point.
No, I think doesn't he have it? If he wins them all, he could, right?
Yes.
If he wins them all, I'm pulling it up right now.
I'd have to see who's fighting, but
yeah, I can. So they have the matches up for day 11. Let me look right now. Where are you, Kirishima? He's fighting Kotozakura on day 11.
Yeah, like I said, miracles can happen, but I think this one is.
Yeah, he would have to win every single one from this point on.
And I think they chose that for them tomorrow. That's like, if you can't beat him, then,
you shouldn't be
an Ozeki.
And Takakeisho is at 4-6 right now, so he has to win 4 of the last 5. What else is a numbers game at this point? Anybody else I should be looking at? Or do you want to know who is fighting whom? Terunofuji?
We got Terunofuji.
You want to hear this one?
Ooh.
Day 11. Terunofuji is fighting Onosato.
Oh. Okay. Well, it should be pretty easy for Terunofuji. He seems like he's in good shape. He can lose. He can certainly lose to some of these guys. But
Onosato got him last time.
He's sitting there at 10-0. Kotozakura is 8-2. So, that's the way it should shake out. Isn't that 1-2?
It is.
Everybody else is like 7-3.
Yeah, there's 5 guys at 7-3?
Yeah, Wakataka Kage, Shodai, Takanosho. Those guys are all sitting there at 7-3.
I do like seeing Wakataka Kage in that bunch.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And Shodai's in that bunch?
Yeah.
See, that's great.
Yes.
That makes me happy. I want you to know.
It's been a good, fun week of of sumo.
I'm loving that. I'm loving this. Absolutely loving it. Okay.
Also worth mentioning, last week we had a listener who called it, or who let us know that there was such a thing as a female samurais. That was so fun.
We'll tell you more about
and
that.
I want to talk about that. Like that was like, oh my gosh, it opened up my brain to like a whole other. I was like, oh,
there were much feared female samurai.
Yes,
and it's awesome.
I was like, I know this is not necessarily related to sumo, because we have talked about women and sumo. It's not sumo related, but we're just going to have to do an episode on female samurai because they're badass.
Yeah, it's exciting, and there's lots of info out there online, and we'll share it with you in the future.
That's right.
It's so exciting. Y'all are the best listeners ever. Y'all just, when we run up against things where we're like, we don't understand, y'all just always step in and save the day. I absolutely love it.
So that is it. We'll be back at you next week with our You Show winner.
Would you like to make a prediction?
I'd like it to be Rerun-fuji.
Me
but,
too.
If things got really crazy here at the end, I like a shake-up too. So as long as no one gets injured,
yes,
I'd be up for anybody winning.
I love the fact that it's Rerun-fuji 2 out ahead and Kotozakura in second place. That just feels so
where
right.
It should be. It's where it should be.
Yeah, because Kotozakura is just right now the strongest, stablest, healthiest one.
Right.
In that Ozeki rank. Hoshoryu's great. I love him.
He doesn't quite have that skill set that Kotozakura is proving to have. So
Hoshoryu right now is sitting at 7-3. Yeah. So he's not that far behind.
No, he's in that next group with Shodai and
doing exactly what he should be doing.
Yeah. So till next week, I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. See y'all later.
Mataraishu.
Bye.